This time we've come to an electronics workshop. It's a regular electronics workshop, and I want to introduce you to the basic tools you'll need for learning electronics. So let's go and see together what things you need. Well, after we've thoroughly learned some fundamental topics and essential concepts within the broad field of electronics, I thought it was absolutely necessary to step out of the conventional PowerPoint and purely theoretical environment for a little while and comprehensively introduce you to the practical equipment and indispensable tools you'll undoubtedly need to effectively learn and truly master electronics. There's really no pressing need to immediately buy incredibly fancy or exorbitantly expensive equipment at first, and thus put yourself under significant financial strain, so to speak. You can certainly commence this exciting journey with a comprehensive set of relatively simple yet highly effective tools as well. The most important point for learning electronics is having a suitable place. It should be safe in every way, no matter what kind of place it is. Also, it's important that you feel comfortable yourself. If you're sensitive to noise, choose a quiet place and make sure it has good lighting. What do I mean by good lighting? It's a light that should shine from above your head. For example, you can use a tool like this. There are desk lamps or task lights that have a large adjustable arm like this, and you can easily control them. Keep in mind that this lamp should shine from above your head. For example, if it shines from the side or behind you, it will bother you. That's why I say it should shine from above your head. But here's the point. You don't need to get something like this right from the start. You can easily just put a desk lamp above your table or even simply install a light bulb. For example, look at this device here. It's mounted on the wall, and here is the lamp socket, which is also fully adjustable. These bases are available at electrical supply stores, and you can, for example, mount them on the wall or use linear LEDs and install them above your desk. You see, I can say that this is the simplest home workshop setup that exists here. The most important thing after choosing the right lighting and the right location is to have a sturdy and good workbench. Professionally speaking, for electronics work, the table should be made of wood or plastic, and we shouldn't use metal tables. That's because of the issue of conductivity, and of course we're dealing with electricity. So we need to choose a good table. Now I'll give you a few suggestions so that at the beginning you don't have to use fancy tables, for example. If you already have a table, then there's no problem. But there are also some used or second-hand computer desks. But in terms of appearance and sturdiness, they are good and not very expensive either. They might start from 70 or 80,000 tomans and go up to a little over 100. If you still genuinely think that this particular option is quite expensive and you would prefer to spend your money elsewhere, I distinctly remember seeing some fascinating photos of people who had just started exploring electronics. Some even went so far as to use wooden fruit crates as tables. They would sit on the floor themselves and use that small table or the same little crate as a desk, just because they wanted to get started. They didn't get caught up in making sure everything was perfectly ready. What matters is to get started, and if you're interested, you'll come up with plenty of ideas for how to begin, and you can put them into practice even better than my suggestions. After that, of course, your seating should also be comfortable. Make sure, for example, that the height of the desk isn't such that you have to bend over too much, which could cause neck or back pain and similar issues. Another thing is that you should have access to power outlets. Of course, you should always choose the closest and most convenient spot for your desk where there is a readily available power outlet, so you can easily connect one of those essential power strips or reliable surge protectors to it and have multiple usable outlets for effectively using electricity. So, being in close proximity to a dependable power source is another important thing you will need to carefully consider for your workshop. And a place to store your tools. Look, right now I'm using this surface, and you can easily place the tools you need on this surface. You can also use these parts organizers, but since you're currently learning electronics from the basics, there's no need for you to go and buy such a structure just yet. Because it costs a considerable amount of money, and at the very beginning of your project you genuinely only need a few essential components, you can even ingeniously utilize readily available small soda bottles. Just cut them and put the few components you need in there. Or use anything else you can think of, even disposable cups, for example, because we only need 5 or 6 components to get started. Once your work progresses further and you learn more advanced and intricate electronics and are able to earn a substantial income from your efforts, you can then acquire all of these essential tools and components and utilize them with considerable ease. Pay close attention to the specific places and designated areas where the various electronic components are carefully kept and organized. Right now, this is a workshop that's almost professional, like a laboratory environment, and of course it requires a lot of components. Look, I didn't even want to tidy this up at all. I just wanted to show you this place, to show you that a workshop, well, here I should say a laboratory environment related to electronics, looks like this. Now, a repair environment is different and naturally has other tools. Well, other essential tools you will need, in addition to what I have already mentioned, for example, are a comprehensive set of screwdrivers like this particular one, which is extensively used in various repairs because each of the different boards or components typically has distinct screws. But as I said, right now there's no need to get this. If you want to get this as well and you find a good price right now and want to have it for the future, you can buy it. But honestly, from the very beginning, there's no need to have a screwdriver set with so many bits. For example, you can use these Phillips and flathead screwdrivers. Their sets are available. Get 1 or 2 in different sizes, just so you can easily open the screws of some devices. For most homes, we already have these screwdrivers. Another tool we need is pliers. Pliers are also necessary for continuing the work. You can get pliers, and wire cutters are another tool you can use, which is also one of the most commonly used tools. Let's see what it's like. Wire cutters and needle nose pliers are essentially the same way. Now you can certainly acquire these essential needle nose pliers either at this moment or at a later, more convenient time. But this is also one of the tools you'll need to continue your work. And if you want to get into repairs, the most important point in the workshop is to maintain safety with this container, because we have it. We use PCB circuits here. This contains acid, so I have to be very careful not to touch it. And it's very important that whenever you enter any workshop, if it's not your own, pay attention to these things and don't touch everything. Another tool that's used is a wire stripper. Look, this is a very simple and straightforward wire stripper. The electrical wire which needs to be prepared precisely goes into these specific holes you can clearly see here on the tool, and by utilizing this practical device, we can effectively strip away the insulation from the ends of the various wires that we intend to meticulously solder together for a secure connection. If you get really skilled, you can even do it with a knife, for example. Now, since this is YouTube, I can't really show it in detail. But you get the idea. For example, I hold it like this. Some people get so skilled that they can strip the ends and insulation off wires using just a simple knife. One thing to keep in mind is that if you're buying something like a screwdriver, pliers, or wire cutters, you should be prepared to spend a bit more here. Get something of good quality so it lasts for you. If you think, I'm just starting out, so I'll get something cheap, I recommend that when it comes to tools like wire cutters or pliers, try to get something of good quality. There are also really high quality options available at reasonable prices. There are good quality products out there as well. For now, let's settle for those and get something that we can easily use for several years. It shouldn't be something that wears out quickly and forces you to spend money again. Let's try to spend money on the tools we use. But for things like accessories, for example, if you want to get a table or a lamp or things like that, don't be too picky or spend too much on those. Spend money on your tools and invest in yourself and your education, because those will stay with you. And if you use low quality tools, you'll end up paying the price yourself. Because after a while, not only will you have to pay the same cost again, but you'll probably have to pay even more for the same thing. Well, since this video is getting quite long, I'm going to split it into 2 parts. So for now, get these parts ready and watch the rest of the tutorial in the next video.